Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is training ready position. This position is really important because you need to use it in all of your movements. Okay, there are 4 pieces to the training ready position. So starting with your feet in approximately shoulder width apart. Okay, step 1 is you're going to tuck your belly button in and up. Okay, oftentimes we have this type of kyphotic posture. We don't want that. We want to get ourselves into a nice upright straight position. Okay, so feet shoulder width apart, belly button in and up, so we're tight here. The second thing is we're going to roll our shoulders down and back so that we don't have our shoulders hunched in this position, so down and back. The third thing is we're going to activate your glutes, okay? So to do that, I want you to pretend that there's a piece of paper on the floor and you're spreading it with your feet until you feel tension in your glutes. So spread that, okay? And the last thing is you have to hold your pelvic floor. So the way you get this is you need to pretend you have to go to the bathroom really badly and you can't go. So you have to squeeze your belly. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is your training ready position. Alright, so right now we're going to look at our squats. Okay, so setting up for squat, starting in your training ready position, feet shoulder width apart. Okay, you can either have your hands out front of you or across as you like, whatever you prefer for balance. If your hands are out front, it helps to counterbalance you a little bit more. Okay, so doing a squat, you want to make sure that your knees stay behind your toes. If your knees swing forwards in front of your toes, it puts a lot of pressure on your knees. So if there's any knee injuries, you're just going to aggravate them. Squatting should not hurt your knees because all of the weight goes through the back of your leg and your heel and your quad. So there should not be any knee pain in this. Okay, so bending at your knees, hinging at your hips, so sitting your pelvis back, and then bending until your upper body and your lower body are parallel 45-degree angles. So from the front it looks like this, squatting down, torso upright, core tight, abs tight, and pushing forwards. From the side, training ready, 90-90, toes behind, knees behind your toes, and here, and down into whatever position is comfortable. Okay? Alright, so to add a level of difficulty to squat, if you have weights, whether it be a dumbbell, whatever, a barbell potentially that you could put on your back. Anyway, this is going to be a goblet squat, so this makes it harder. So again, feet shoulder width or slightly wider. The wider apart your feet are, the more focus it puts on your glutes. So if you want a big wide sumo squat, you can do that, but ideally, until you get used to it, you want your feet just slightly wider than shoulder width. So holding your weight here, same idea, going down into your squat. Okay? So holding the weight up, feet shoulder width, knees behind your toes, sinking into your hips, and body in a slightly upright position. Awesome. So now we're going to talk about lunges. Okay, lunges are a great exercise. They activate your quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and calves, as well as some stability. So when you're doing lunges, you want to make sure you have a nice wide stance and that you can come up on your back toe to help you go down. You want to make sure that all of your toes and your hips are facing the same direction, because if you change the angle of your hips, you actually change the way your pelvis is, what your pelvis and your hips are doing. So close toes forwards, hips forwards, so we can have everything in alignment, okay? You can have your hands on your hips, out forwards, whatever you prefer. Remembering you're training ready, you want core tight, shoulders back, so we don't lean forwards on our lunge, because also we don't want to put pressure over that knee as well. So torso upright, you're going to bend each knee at 90 degrees. When you're lowering, the motion is initiated from your back knee, so lower to 90, head neutral, and then on the way up, you push through your heel, and that initiates the up motion. So starting from your back knee, down, torso upright, through your heel, so toes slightly off the floor, and pushing up, okay? So if you were lunging straight up and down like this is called a stationary lunge, as opposed to a walking lunge that moves forward and or backwards. Okay, so those are your lunges. Remember, toes facing forward, regardless of a stationary or a walking lunge, facing everything in the same direction, hips forward, shoulders back and down, head neutral, and then straight up and down. Okay? Okay, so the next exercise we're going to work on is a hip raise, or also called a glute bridge. Okay? It works the hamstrings, the glutes, and a little bit of the posterior chain in here as well. And I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so when you're setting this up, you want to make sure that your back is in a neutral position. Your feet are approximately 90, so they're not too far in front of you, and they're not too close either. But the closer they are to you, the better raise you can get, okay? You want to make sure that your hips push up to the sky by squeezing your glutes and pushing up. If this becomes too easy and you want to add an additional challenge, what we're going to do is add a leg extension like this. So raise your hips, extend your leg, put your leg back, then lower your hips, hips up, extend your legs, down and down. This allows for extra time under tension in the areas that we're working. Great. This exercise is called a kickback, or sometimes a glute kickback, various names for it. What we're going to be working on is our glutes in particular. So you want to get into a tabletop position. When you are in this position, be very aware of your training ready position. What often happens is your back goes down, sometimes we round our back. You want to make sure that we have a nice flat back, okay? Keep your core tight as you are moving your legs, you're extending your legs backwards, okay? So kick out, squeezing your belly and your glutes, and reach out. Now notice, your legs are going to be straight, squeezing the glute, and it's flexing at your feet. So you're actually pushing back with your heel, okay? So push, in. Core tight the whole time, back straight, shoulders down, squeezing your bum and flexing your feet. And that's how we do a glute kickback. This exercise is for your lower back muscles and your posterior chain again. I will go over a couple of progressions because sometimes, unless you get some flexibility and stability and some extra core strength, this can be a difficult exercise. So the first thing we're going to do is a variation of a Superman, okay? So on your tummy, hands down, thumbs towards your body. All you're going to do is raise up here. So you should feel it in your lower back. And this is a lighter weight. Okay? This is your first progression. The second progression, which is harder, is with your hands extended. The reason why this is harder is because there's added weight on your lower back because you're holding up more weight here. So with your hands extended here, head neutral, core tight, raising your upper body off the floor. And your last progression of difficulty is where you actually fly like Superman and lift your legs off the floor as well. So choose the level of difficulty that works for you. A great upper body exercise is a push-up. This is a compound movement which works a lot of muscles. We've got chest activation, tricep activation, upper back activation, core strength, glute strength. Is a really great compound exercise for the upper body and core as well. There are two progressions that I want to work towards. One is a full push-up, and the second will be a push-up from the knees. Okay? So setting up a full push-up, we want our training ready position, but on the ground, which is a little bit harder to make sure that those shoulders are rotated backwards. Okay? So ideally, we want our hands approximately shoulder width apart, so we are setting up directly under our shoulders. Reaching out, coming back on our toes. Okay, we're going to come out here, and as much as possible, you want to lower your elbows at a 45-degree angle. So that the closer it is to your body, the more it activates your tricep. If you do a wide grip or a wide stance push-up, you'll activate more of your pectoral muscles. Sometimes this is easier to start with, but you will feel more of a pectoral stretch or pinch here as opposed to a tricep, which you'll feel more if you bring your elbows closer to your body. If this is too difficult, we're going to move to a push-up from your knees, but you have to be very careful to maintain that straight body position, which is a little bit harder from your knees. So, coming back onto your knees, you actually have to roll a little bit forwards, so otherwise we get this motion. So, rolling forwards, core tight, and lowering your body. Again, be careful we're not doing this. Okay, so you have to roll forwards on your knees so you can lower your whole body in a straight position. This exercise is called a row. In particular, it's an upright row because we're going to be standing straight up. It's a really great exercise at home or in the park because all you need is a band. Obviously, you can change resistances as you need to. Okay? In order to set this up, you want to wrap it around approximately about elbow height. Okay? I'm going to wrap my hands around this. I want to make sure my thumbs are pointing up so that I can make sure I'm having a retracted scapula. Okay? So here in this position, I don't want my shoulders forward. Starting in training ready, keeping my elbows close to the body, pulling back through the shoulders. You should be feeling this exercise right between your shoulder blades. So it's as if you're squeezing your shoulder blades together and trying to pinch someone's finger. So if I was poking you in the back, you're going to try and get my finger. Shoulders down and back, and squeezing between your shoulder blades. Great. All right, shoulder press. Shoulder press is a really great exercise. There are 3 pieces of your shoulders called your deltoids, and they can each be worked in different ways. So what we're going to do today is a shoulder press, which works the big meaty part of your shoulder. This is the one that makes your shoulders look really sexy in your clothes. Okay, so when you're setting this up, you want the weights level with your shoulders, again, training ready. So tuck your core, squeeze your belly, activate your glutes, shoulders down and back. Really, really important in this exercise that you activate your core because it requires a lot of stabilizer muscles. Okay? We're essentially making the letter C by pressing up and out into field goal position and then back down. Pushing up and out and here. The other trick to this is that your shoulders need to be a little bit flexible. Often we pull back our elbows or lower and raise like this, or we fall forwards. If we're falling forwards, it's either our wrists are not stable or the weight is too heavy. So we need to be in a straight line here. Okay, so be careful that we're not in this position with our elbows behind. It should essentially be as if there's a wall behind our back and we're just raising and lowering right along the wall. So, I know this exercise looks really simple. There's a lot going on, so be very careful, stabilizing and keeping your arms in good alignment. This exercise is called a tricep dip, which obviously works your triceps. This lovely muscle in the back of your arm. And if you want to avoid that underarm jiggle, this is a really great exercise for you. Okay, all you need is a chair or a raised surface. Okay, so here, the closer your arms are together, the harder the exercise is, but the better it is for you. You also want to make sure that you're rotating the inside of your elbow towards each other, so you're activating more triceps. So hands down and rotate your elbows in. Okay, you don't want them outwards this way, so it doesn't hit the muscle in the correct way. Okay, so here, elbows inside, and they don't want to flare out this way, they go directly behind you as you bend down. So if you're looking in the mirror, you should see your elbow bending. Be careful you're not lowering from your bum. Okay? Sometimes we have a tendency to think we're getting lower by lowering our bums down and not getting as much tricep activation. So your lower body is doing nothing. Okay? Bending from your elbows and pushing backwards. Okay? Alright, this is a bicep curl. There's again going to be 2 variations depending on what equipment that you have. You can either use the band that we used before without handles and just wrap it around your hands, or you can use something like this. Place it under your foot, okay? Again, training ready with the rest of your body. elbows tight to your body, so we're not using any momentum. Our arms are not going backwards. Again, think about that wall behind you to stop your arms from going backwards. Okay, training ready, and all you're doing is curling up to your shoulders and lowering down. Up to your shoulders and down. If you're doing multiple sets of this, I recommend switching your feet between each set just to get balance. Okay? The second variation of bicep curls are with free weights. Again, take your training ready stance and palms facing forwards. Again, elbow to the wall, curling up to your shoulders and down. There's a variation to this. It's called a hammer curl, where you turn your palms towards each other. It hits your biceps in a slightly different way. So again, keeping everything in alignment, curling up to your shoulders and down. This is a hammer curl, hitting your biceps in a different way. Okay, so now we're going to go over our 3 core exercises, which is crunching, twisting, and planking. So for crunching, set up here. You can either have your hands crossed here, your hands behind your head. Just be careful not to pull your neck. I prefer to have my hands up here in the front, and I pretend I'm pushing a button because that adds a little bit of extra tension here. And then it's just a slight movement. It's not all the way up. It's just little contractions of your abs. The next one is a twist. So you just have to, you're just moving from side to side. You can hold a weight, you can bring your feet off the floor, and that will increase the pressure. So starting, feet up, touch, 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 not rocking your knees. This. Again, either adding weight, going lower back with your upper body to increase the resistance. And the last one, and I'm covered in cat fur, is your plank. So when you're sitting up in a plank, coming down here, starting position, palms flat on the floor, elbows are directly under your shoulders, coming up, making sure your shoulders are retracted. So up, head neutral, squeezing everything, legs, bum, shoulder blades, core. And then holding that for either 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, whatever it is you can do.